We count down our top 5 extinct attractions at Universal Orlando on episode 298 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad you can join us. Today we have joining us as well, Lee.
Hello, everyone.
Tracy.
Hello.
And Darren.
What's up, Internet?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
All right. Yeah.
Cool.
I can't believe we've never done this topic before.
I know.
Yeah, when you brought it up, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, when I put it out in the group, Darren was like, "Are you sure we haven't done this before?" And I had to second guess myself at that point, thinking, "Oh, I don't know, have we?"
It does sound like something we should have done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we haven't.
We're just waiting for more rides to go extinct. And then we'll do it.
Like Jurassic Park ones.
Oh,
Anybody?
no.
Now, part of the rules, right, was we didn't even have to ride them to include them in our list, right?
Yes.
We could have or could not have.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want to make
Frantic
sure.
rewrite happens.
I did say that. You don't have to have ridden it to want it to be in your top 5. So potentially it's an attraction that you wish you could have ridden.
Just pretend.
Oh, no.
So really, it's 5 extinct attractions in order that you would
Can't do
want in
5
the
then.
park now. I don't know why we do top 5.
You okay there, Tracy?
I think I might have just broken.
Tracy's OCD's kicked in already.
Well, let me kick it into gear a little bit more because we're going to start with ladies first. Tracy.
Perfect.
You realise you're the junior member of this crew, don't you?
Oh, and he's fitting so well.
And Lee likes to think he's the boss, but actually... Somebody's on toilet duty now.
Oh, Chris, that was perfect.
Don't like Chris anymore. Right, my number 5 then, because I'm having to rejig all of this, is Jimmy Neutron.
I'm surprised that's not higher up for you, actually.
Well, it was until a minute ago.
Okay. Now I'm confused.
Well, everything's just changed, hasn't it? You just changed the parameters on me.
Your top 5 is still your top 5, right?
No, not anymore, because in the top 5 I'd ridden them all. So I had
gotcha.
Yeah. What? We've got to have reasons.
Of course.
Yeah.
2 words. Booby bounce.
On you. Yeah.
It.
There's only long-time listeners will know what the hell that's about.
It is not the most amazing ride in the world, but I brought Jade and Raymond to some degree up on Jimmy Neutron. We loved it. You know, we've got the movie upstairs, really enjoyed it. Going in, it's just like, it's good family fun. A lot of the kids actually, I think they only got to ride it once, didn't they?
Twice, I
Twice.
think.
But it's just a lot of fun.
No, actually, I think we rode it once as a family, and then you and Jade went on it when me and Raymond were riding Ride Rocket.
Mm-hmm. And it's just simple fun. You
Better
know.
than Minions?
Yes. Yeah. Minions, I only rate the queue.
Yeah. We've only ridden Minions once.
I was underwhelmed by the actual ride. Basically, it's the same ride with a different film. Because even the ride vehicles move in the same way.
Yeah.
You know, and you still get the bounce. So they've not even, I don't even think they've been reprogrammed.
I think they will have been.
But no, I loved Jimmy Neutron. I was very sad when it went. So that's my number 5.
Okay.
Like Minions for me suffers from, it's that 4K thing again. I've said that the 4K 3D doesn't look as good. It's clearer, but it doesn't give you that 3D that you expect from a theme park attraction.
Yeah, there's always like ghosting images on the sides to me, like every time on all of that 4K 3D stuff, including Spider-Man now too.
Is it me, did you say there, Chris?
Yeah, you're next.
Right, my number 5. It was a toss-up this because I can't even remember whether I've ridden the first iteration of it. I think I might have done once, but I don't remember enough about it. But my number 5 is Disaster, a major motion picture starring you. Especially after the conversation we had last week, I think it is a travesty that it is not still there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It was sort of the last vestige of that behind the scenes of movie making that was what Universal Studios was all about. The fact that you went through with a live team member, but the fact that they got the audience involved as well. That's why I never got picked for, and I would love to. And it always made every ride different. It's not the ride, but effectively what the pre-show was different every time, because even though it was the same thing, depending on what people got pulled up, it could go off.
Who was playing Lonnie?
Yeah, but you get certain people, you get those quiet people, and then they sort of play that up, and then you get the extroverts, and so you get a completely different experience every time. And for even though the like special effects scenes they were showing you were quite, well, they were extremely dated even when it first opened, but it was cool, and they did. It was a universal attraction. It didn't try and be kitschy or kiddie friendly. Like it was the shot in the balls, take two.
Yeah,
that type of humor in there that sort of set it apart from what your typical, like your equivalent Disney attraction at Hollywood Studios would be. It
was near the knuckle without being offensive.
Yeah.
Right.
The actual ride portion itself was good for what it was, but it obviously still smacked of 1990s models and stuff, but it was still pretty cool, and it was a big people eater. The Musion with Christopher Walken that was probably the best use they've done in the parks, I think, because you literally had that Musion technology interacting with a live person. It was unreal.
Yeah.
And I think it is sad that it's gone. But I do like that at least in Fast and Furious they've kept those live team members in the pre-show a little bit. So yes, Disaster's mine.
Cool. Darren?
All right, well, let's go ahead and upset some people here with my number 5, which is Jaws.
I'm not going to say a word.
Oh,
okay.
We'll be discussing his employment status later.
If Tracy was in a Looney Tunes cartoon at this point, she'd have a little thermometer that's just going...
Steam would be coming out my ears.
Yeah. I like Jaws a lot. It's still number 5 on the list there, but there were other things that I liked more in the park. So,
and that's quite valid.
Yeah. So I went in there. The whole area back there was really cool. The Jaws ride itself, having a live actor on there, made a big difference. And like you said, with Disaster, it gives you a lot of variance in your ride with a different person, even though they follow the same script. How they acted, was very different every time.
100%.
You'd have people that were really into it and really animated, and people, that weren't so much. And even then, that kind of made the ride good too. When you had one that was really not into it at the same time, it was just a new dimension on it, I would say. And then going during horror nights and going on it at night, having that kind of experience is also really cool. So yeah, it's a bummer that it's gone. It took up a lot of space. I can understand why it's not there anymore. And, they look what they put in its place. There's a lot, they put a lot where one ride used to be.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing I think that kind of forgives removing Jaws, because what they replaced it with was, they blew it out the park.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, agreed.
So when they take away a really good ride that people like, and they put something even, I'm not saying better, but something that did really well.
Yeah,
and it's forgivable.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
Thomas is banging his iPod now, going, "How dare you? How dare you say it is forgivable? It is not."
I do agree.
At least it was on the list. It almost didn't make it. So
what?
No.
I'm just kidding.
But they could like build the Wizarding World onto something else.
Look, at the end of the day, if you want to ride it, it's still in Japan.
You won't even take me to Orlando. You won't take me to bloody Japan.
No, you're right.
So I'm sure other people will talk more about that. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my number 5 is Ghostbusters.
Oh.
Yeah. It was something I grew up with as a kid. I was a huge Ghostbusters fan. I had the Proton Pack. I had the little ghost catcher. Had all that stuff. So
awesome.
When my parents, used to take me to the park when I was a kid. I just remember that one, very fondly, because I had such a good time just seeing Ghostbusters. Anytime they were dressed up anywhere, it was just an awesome experience for me. So
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool at the time, kind of like the technology they were using, like on the screens in the background. I thought that was really cool because I've even gone back and seen like a YouTube video of it and thought it still looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never actually watched the YouTube video of it, to be honest, which is weird.
You should. There's one on there that somebody took, I think, the entire thing, and it's really good recording of it, given the time frame that it was in.
Well, as a former star of the Ghostbusters Spooktacular, we appreciate you, being so interested in it. And yeah, there's a little bit of my old Universal one that's up on my UUOP Darren YouTube account. Has me in the pre-show of that ride too, if you want to check it out. So. Yeah.
Darren was a Ghostbusters Junior
with the proton pack. Yeah.
Awesome.
You gotta put that on your LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was probably Michael Roddy that was working there at the same time.
Possibly.
So, yeah.
Number 4, Tracy.
Number 4. I'm not panicking anymore.
Because you figured your list out now, have you?
I have, and I've actually transferred it on the screen now as well.
Set in stone.
We also just changed all the rules again. So
now you have to have written it.
Don't, because I will cry. I'm not ashamed.
We know.
It's an ugly cry. Number 4. Very disappointed to have missed this one. It's not going to come as a surprise to anybody when they hear what I say, but Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
I'm surprised that's not higher up your list as well, actually.
Look, I've just had to change my list to include it. What more do you want? Oh, do you know? Yeah, I'm a big Hitchcock fan. Love anything like that, and I love behind the scenes stuff. So I just wish I'd been there when it was there, but I wasn't. So
that was where Shrek is, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take that now over that any day of the week.
Yep.
That's the reverse. Let's take something good and put something worse.
Have either of you two done Alfred Hitchcock?
Yes, I did when I was a kid. It left a big mark on me.
I want to say yes, but I honestly don't have too many memories of it. Like I'd have to go back and like maybe watch a video of something. It'll click, but can't remember off the top of my head.
Because Darren, am I right in assuming that was another one where they had a lot of, like audience participation as well?
Yeah, because they had the shower scene where they'd get somebody, usually like a dad, up from the audience in there to dress up like Mother.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Like Norman Bates did. So that, they'd have somebody like that, and then they would do like a switcheroo thing with them to like have like the actual Norman Bates switch places with them. So when they'd open the curtain, the like wife or whoever was there was expecting their husband, and they actually got Norman Bates.
Brilliant. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, they'd have the cool thing like that, and then you'd move on to the 3D show, and then move on to another room at the end. It's pretty cool.
Because wasn't Rear Window part of it as well?
Yeah, like I think they have the original model from Rear Window there.
Cool.
Like the miniature model.
Very cool. I like Rear Window. You've never seen it, have you?
To be honest, I don't think I've seen any Hitchcock films. I know that's sacrilege, but
weirdly, I've never seen Psycho.
I've seen Psycho.
I know. How weird is that?
I've seen Psycho 2.
It's weird. I've seen most of everything else, but not Psycho. I need to get that
I can't
sorted.
say much. I saw the Vince Vaughn version before the original. So.
Haven't even seen that.
No, it's supposed to be like literally shot for shot, isn't it?
But I know the story very, very well.
Yeah, I've seen Bates Motel.
Yeah, there
you go, then. So yeah, Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Cool.
Lee?
See, this is where my list started to get a bit muddied, and it's like when I initially did this, I thought my 1 and 2 was set in stone from the word go, and it was 3, 4, and 5 that were a little bit, I'm not really sure. My number 4 probably should be higher up on my list, actually, but I'm not, because I think there's one slightly better than it is. Confrontation. I think you have to include Confrontation just because it was one of the iconic rides that opened, even though it didn't work properly, like all the rest didn't. It's, when that park first opened, it was one of the rides that they sold that park on. And again, the fact that it was all physical, with a huge animatronic, the sort of New York skyline sets, and you were in a cable car suspended above the ground. Sounds like it would have been awesome, like really, really good. I mean, the Skull Island sounds excellent. The videos we watched, it looks cool, but to do something that's all physical again, I think we'd all quite happily have more of that in the parks.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So yeah, it's definitely one. We only missed it by about a year, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm quite disappointed by that. But yeah, Confrontation's my number 4.
good choice. Darren?
My number 4 was Disaster, a motion picture starring you. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of, I think, going over each other on these
Probably.
ones, but
Oh yeah.
because the big ones are the big ones, and for a lot of what Lee said, I agree 100%. The Musion technology that they have there, the interaction with Lonnie, how they kind of skirt the edge there with having Lonnie hit on the hot guy, like the hunk that she gets from the crowd. And even better was like me and Nina were on the last ride for normal guests
So cool.
for Disaster. And the actress playing Lonnie, her husband was actually in the crowd. So she pulled him up as the hunk and actually laid a big kiss on him when she pulled him up. And, everybody in the crowd was like, oh my God. It was like the last time or what? No, it was her husband. It was pretty great. So they had a lot of fun with that. And they did even every other time I went and saw it with guests. And we always tried to, get picked. And we did quite a few times. So it's a lot of fun. It's one of the few rides that I actually enjoy sitting through the pre-show and everything because like you said, there's so much variance in it.
Yeah.
Depending on who gets picked and which cast and crew are working that day, it makes big difference. And the actual attraction itself is a marvel of its time, so it's really cool to go back and see that again when it was all working together. That's when it was the best. It didn't always work that way. For the first few times I went, I didn't know that there was another subway car that came up and hit it because it never worked.
All right.
So I never saw that. So it was kind of cool too, because every time I went on, I'd see a new effect that worked this time that wasn't working before. I might miss out on one of my previous ones, but the water rushing down the side and all the cool effects there, and going back to when it was Earthquake and still having an homage to that. And the one thing I like about the Fast and Furious is you still have The Rock on the video screens when you're going in and out of the attraction. So that's kind of like a little nod to Disaster, which it has a lot of nods to it. So
I think it's
cool.
Testament to that attraction that when they decided to change it from Earthquake, they didn't rip it out and put something new in at that point. They decided it's good enough, let's just update it and keep it in for... When did it upgrade? So it's, at least 10 years as Disaster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right? I'm sure we rewrote it as...
1 or 2 years as Earthquake?
I can't remember now. I'm going to have to look that up and actually find out when it changed.
It was definitely Earthquake in 2004.
But it was a good few years after they changed it over before they closed it. So I think it's testament to how good an attraction it was that it they didn't switch that much out, yet it still stayed relevant for quite a few years.
It's one of your ride the movie rides, really riding the movie.
Yeah.
7 years. Opened 7.5 years. It opened as Disaster in January 2008 and closed on the 8th of September 2015.
The first 2 years we went to, we saw it.
So that's definitely testament to it. They could have just ripped it out then and they didn't. So
Yeah, and like I said, the Frank Kincaid bits and even the things that they had out in the queue were pretty impressive as well.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, I feel like the Sci-Fi Channel went there, like somebody that worked at the Sci-Fi Channel went there and saw those and were like, hey, we can make movies out of these because they were those are very similar to that. Like you got the submarine shark, and the airplane that was crash landed back there and a lot of cool stuff. So
yeah.
Oh, I'm all sad now.
Whose idea was it for this show?
I don't know.
Don't worry, they'll bring it back as a screen ride.
Oh.
Yeah. So my number 4 might hurt somebody here. but it's Back to the Future.
Whoa.
Oh,
I'll explain.
It's on your list. I
Explain.
appreciate
Yeah, it's on the list. It's top 5. I was a huge Back to the Future fan. Still am. Love the movies. I can still sit down and watch any one of them. And it was a great ride. It made the list. The only thing, it was lower on the list because from what I remember, I hated standing in line for that ride. It was the queue was terrible.
Yeah.
To get that outside area, I remember like burning up in the sun.
Yes.
It was terrible. But aside from that, it was a great ride. Having Doc Brown, Marty, everything. Cool. And Biff, of course. So yeah. I'm sure it'll show up on someone else's list at some point.
I remember riding it for the first time, and it was when Express was still free in the park, and we expressed it, and we still waited for 40 minutes, and it wasn't a busy day at all.
Yeah, there was never a short line on that ride.
No.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, now.
Yeah. So number 3, Tracy.
Number 3. Well, this one stayed as my number 3.
Okay.
So, I was gutted when this was taken out of the park. In fact, it's not been gone very long.
Okay, right. I think I know where you're going.
And I think I said in the last show, it's the best screen-based ride ever made.
Really?
Terminator 2 3D.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that one, but...
Yeah. No, I love Terminator 2 3D. You've all heard me before on the show, on plenty of the shows, saying how much I used to love it. That 3D was unbelievable. Yeah, it was getting a bit ropey towards the end, but they knew they would take it out, so they're not going to...
Yeah, but how long had that attraction been in operation?
But things like, you'd see something on screen, then all of a sudden you've got an actor there in the flesh, and motorbikes coming out of the screen, and and then was it T70s?
Mm-hmm.
You can't convince me they weren't real. I'm sorry, but every time I'd still get that little my back used to ache a bit in the pre-show. There was quite a bit of standing around.
Yeah, the pre-show is awful because they cram as many people into that space as they can, and it's like you better get comfortable with the person next to you because you're going to be very close to them in a minute.
Hot and sticky. Even though it was air conditioned, you still got hot and sticky. They kept you hanging about for a good 15-20 minutes before anybody started any pre-show.
Oh yeah, especially if you were one of the first people in there.
Yes.
Yeah, you're waiting a very long time.
But the pre-show, the film itself was so much fun. So camp. It's
that was only because when they did it, it was serious, and then 15 years later, it was like...
yeah. It's one of those...
sarcastic lady.
Yeah.
Loved her.
It was, for me, it was one of those, aside from that standing, it was nigh on a perfect attraction for me.
Which is interesting that it's at your number 3.
Yeah. That's because I've got 2 that I miss more.
And they must be perfect.
Perfecter.
Yeah. Kinda.
Mm-hmm.
So
Lee?
don't question it.
Number 3, my number 3 has already been mentioned by someone else already. I have not seen it.
Oh.
In person or on YouTube.
Oh.
I would have loved to have seen the Ghostbusters Spooktacular because as a kid, I was a huge Ghostbusters fan. In fact, I still am.
Yeah. I knew this was going to be on your list.
To the point when I took a day off work a couple of years ago, me and Tracy went to the supermarket and we got some bits and bobs for our lunch. Said, right, the kids are out. What film shall we watch? I want to watch Ghostbusters.
Nice.
I love the film. I think the attraction fits so well into Universal. Ghostbusters, that the sense of humor of those films would fit so well as an attraction in Universal because it just borders on that. It's not quite family
naughty,
friendly,
yeah.
but it's
it was not appropriate for kids when we were watching it.
no,
for the most part.
Yeah, it was subtle enough to go over the kids' heads.
Yeah.
But enough for the parents just to slightly catch the breath and go, what?
And from what I know about the attraction, it used it was like a Pepper's Ghost effect thing, wasn't it, for the laser streams and stuff. It basically played out the finale of the film, didn't it? Is that right? On top of the tower with Gozer and the pterodogs and stuff.
Yeah.
That was part 2, right?
First one.
Part 1.
Yeah.
First one?
Yeah.
With a Stay Puft, right?
Yes. Right at the
Okay.
end of that. And it's just like a perfect set piece for and the fact they did it inside, I don't know why that doesn't make any difference, but it's like inside even though it's supposed to be outside. I love it. I have this weird thing that I like attractions that make you feel like you're outside when you're inside.
Yeah.
So Twist is on your list then.
No. Spoilers. It's like the perfect attraction that does it is, and I'm going to go to the dark side, the Mexico Pavilion in Epcot.
Yeah, I've got to admit that I love it.
I love going in there because you feel like you're outside, but you're not. Anyway,
And
I would have
tequila.
loved.
Yes.
Tequila.
Yep, I would have loved to
Tequila.
experience that attraction, and then the fact that they had the Ghostbusters walk around characters as well.
Did they have the Ecto 1?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
So
Yep.
with the
And
sirens,
they had the car out there and everything.
did it drive? Did they drive it like Blues Brothers turn up the car? Did they turn up
Yep.
with the Ecto 1
Oh my god.
with the sirens?
Yep.
Ha ha ha! Somebody invented a time machine quick.
Yeah.
I need.
And I didn't know this. I was looking up online just when I was doing some research for this, but the show that they did in front of the New York area was actually after the ride closed.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
that the Great Fright Way or
Yeah.
Fright something? Yeah.
And I think that's when they would come out in Ecto 1 and come do that, which was awesome.
Beetlejuice, I think, was in that show
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they worked together on that one.
Why they're not still doing something like this? Because it's as relevant as Blues Brothers is.
It's potentially a rights thing, isn't it, at this point?
Potentially. Yeah.
They stopped doing it when the contract was
Ah.
lapsed. And I guess, I don't know, they didn't want to do it again.
It's an empty little corner back there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's literally nothing up there. I think if they're not got, they need to. I would love to see a Ghostbusters house at Horror Nights.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be particularly
fun.
scary, but it'd be campy as hell. It would be brilliant.
Can you imagine the adults, like our generation, they hear distant strains of that siren.
Yeah.
Your blood's going to get pumping. You're going to turn to that like 7-year-old kid again and get all giddy. And it's going to be like, sod the kids, barge them out the way like I am with the Grinch. Because that's our childhood encapsulated.
We need to stop talking about this
Yeah.
because I want to watch this film again. I haven't got time tonight.
Tomorrow
Just
night.
saying that would fit in with the 80s theme. That's all I'm gonna
Absolutely.
say.
It would. Oh, if they announce...
Universal
Oh, we are
Studios.
going. I'll sell Jade's kidneys. We're going. Not my own.
But yes, I would have loved to have seen Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Darren?
Well, let's keep talking about Ghostbusters. This is my number 3.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters Spooktacular. Let's get Lee watching this by the end.
Are we going to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. This was like when on my first trip. This is the attraction that I remembered most. Going back and had the fondest memories of, because when in the pre-show there, they would have Lewis demonstrating some new Ghostbusters technology and different things about the Ghostbusters, and he would call up 3 kids on stage, and you each would test out a different Ghostbusters thing. And I had the proton pack, which shot water, which sprayed water, and then he would kind of just activate that and spray the audience with it, and
Awesome.
then turn it around on himself and spray himself with it. It's pretty great.
Nice.
So I got to do that, and there's like another kid that held like a gack in their hand, pretty much. It was just like slime, and tell him like, don't let it touch the floor. If that touches the floor, this is all over. And give him way too much that he could handle. So, that's like hilariously going on the side. And you just like start him off with that, and then go back over to the other kids and be like, okay, so anyway. So there was a lot of good crowd interaction with that, and then the actual show, which was amazing, like you said, with the screens and everything, being in the audience, especially in 91, the first time that I went, 93, the first time I went. That kind of technology isn't something that I had ever seen before. So
Yeah.
it was pretty incredible to see them actually using the proton packs on stage, and seeing the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, his head creep up on the side, after the initial fight. Which is a cool fun fact. Well, at least until Twister went away, that Stay Puft's frame was still there, and that was the drive-in sign for Twister.
Oh, cool.
So that, when the sign broke in half, that was the same like armature that they used for Stay Puft. So
Nice.
gives you a little bit of idea of what the stage looked like there.
See, Tully was the perfect character as well. I'm glad they included him in there because, like, to do that sort of effectively the pre-show with the kids would have been brilliant.
Yeah, it really was. And then after the show, you'd come out, and then they'd have the meet and greet with the Ghostbusters. And like I said, the Ecto one would be sitting out there. You'd have the New York Public Library as a backdrop. I have a picture with Spangler, which was my favorite one at the time. With the New York Public Library in the background and the Ecto one on the side. It's just awesome. So it's a big bummer that it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's one of those attractions that I think would still very much work today.
Yeah.
Even if not just the attraction, I think if they brought the characters out in the park,
Oh yeah.
people will go crazy.
Well, that's it. How many kids and like younger families now go and know who the hell the Blues Brothers are? And then Ghostbusters had 2 films. Blues Brothers only really had 1.
Yeah. And a lot longer ago.
Yeah.
Like, even if I would take, even if they'd updated it and did it with the new one. Because I didn't mind that, to be honest.
It was
Right?
okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's
Maybe
not
if they
bad,
can
actually.
incorporate both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Ghostbusters fandom, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
When I put this at my number 3, I was like, maybe I should have put Confrontation. Now Darren's talked about it more. I'm like, no, it definitely should be number 3. It sounds awesome.
Can we have a top 6?
No. You haven't got it on your list, have you?
My number 3 is a ride that recently closed. So, Dueling Dragons. Well, Dueling Dragons didn't close, but when that closed and made Dragon Challenge, I missed Dueling Dragons.
Uh-huh.
So that's a ride I would love to have still had around. Just because, I mean, there's not a lot of coasters in the park.
No.
And, I love coasters.
Mm-hmm.
And back when they did Duel, as we all know, we've talked about extensively on the show, it was so much fun. So,
Oh yeah.
I agree.
It was definitely a statement piece of that resort when they were dueling, but it was, I think we've said it God knows how many times, that it was just a shadow of its former self when it was just 2 separate coasters.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the ride I got most flicked off on, I would say.
Really?
Not intentionally. They're trying to flick off their friends behind me and
All right.
in front of me. You just get caught in the crossfire there.
Yeah, it's like on the lift hill. And if you're the first train to go,
That was fun.
and it slows, and you hear the other one coming up beside it. It's a bit exciting because you know you're getting ready to race.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's just, and I don't care how old you were, you still had to walk up the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Or run.
Oh yeah.
Because there's the little rungs going across, and you've got to try and hit them with your feet, even though you're not really hitting them with your feet, obviously.
It was
You know.
weird as well. It's that one attraction that lost something when it became a Harry Potter attraction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for
It lost a
Flying
lot.
Unicorn that went to Hippogriff, and it's not, we never rode Flying Unicorn, but Hippogriff, there's a decent amount of theming around it that really fits that Harry Potter thing, but it really lost a lot when they changed it to Dragon Challenge, and it could have been so much more, but they took away 90% of the theming.
Yeah, and didn't replace it.
No, it's like the entrance to it was a hole in
when
the
you go-
wall.
Yeah, when you
I
go through
know.
all those lovely tunnels before, and they were all twinkling with gems and,
Well, not even just
and
the
light
queue,
and
just
stuff. It was stunning.
just the entrance to it. It went from having
2
2
dragons.
huge intertwined dragons and that central point where you could stand and see the near miss point to literally a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but we're getting something new, so we'll see how that goes.
Yep. fingers
Yes, I'm
crossed.
very interested to see what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Like you say, Chris, you're the wild card in all this, because I think like me, Darren, and Tracy know each other well enough that we could. I'm not so sure because you've changed all yours round now.
Just to spite you.
But I think we'll have like the big ones on there, whereas Chris was like, we don't know what his number one's going to be.
Gotta keep you guys on your toes. That's all.
Mm.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break and hear from our sponsor.
Hey guys, Michelle and Robin here from Mouse and Muggle Travel Company. Sorry to interrupt this awesome episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast.
We promise not to bore you this time.
So, blah, 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 we sell vacation packages.
And blah, 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 we're experts on Universal and Disney destinations.
And blah, 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 our services are free to you.
But what you might not know, we're just a couple of super cool ladies who like to have fun and know all of the tips and tricks to make your vacation all you had dreamed it would be.
You can learn more about us at mouseandmuggle.com and fill out a quick quote request form while you're there.
Just be sure to let us know you heard about us from the UUOP. And remember, whether you're a mouse
or a muggle, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company can help make your next vacation simply magical.
And we're back. So these are the two big ones here, guys. I mean, I hope you all made sure you picked the right ones.
Oh, these were set in stone as soon as I decided this topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anybody's got anything different, they're wrong. Just tell it.
Of course. So why don't you start us off again, Tracy, with your number 2?
My number 2, well, it's already been mentioned very recently. That's Dueling Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Dragon Challenge, Dueling Dragons. For all the reasons we said before the ad break. You know, the theming was much better. You know, you raced, you duelled. It was all near misses. It was just better. I can't really add to it because we've just discussed it.
Yeah.
You know, but like walking, when you go, I'm going to add to it apparently. You know, when you go into kind of, what is it? It's
a big castle,
a
wasn't
castle. I can't, because it's like, you can't, it's like hewn out
It's
the
a
rock
long
face, isn't it?
time since we've,
But when you go
2005.
winding through those little corridors, there was so much to look at.
But it had a story.
It did, and with little signs, and this story progressed as you went along, and why, you know, then you had to choose thy fate, fire or ice. I really wish I'd written it down, like had a diary or something. I think ice was my favourite.
Right, blue one.
Yeah, it seemed to be faster. Or it felt faster.
Yeah, I think ice was faster, supposedly, and then fire was more spins or more twists.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely a speed demon, so yeah.
I mean, you can understand why when they put Hogsmeade in there, why they left it, because it did fit. You know, to the theme they
Absolutely.
brought in with the Goblet of Fire, it did fit that area and the very specific time stamp that they put on Hogsmeade at the time. But yeah, I think a lot of people complain that, as they have done with Diagon Alley, that it's one major ride and then shops.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that they're going back in now, they've made all the money off it and replacing that, I would expect them to do something with Flight of the Hippogriff at some point, but possibly not. It depends what the height restriction on the new one is, I suppose.
Yeah. It's got to be spectacular.
See, I'm old now. I can't ride coasters like I used to. Hence
You
why,
never could.
sorry to tell everyone, this is not on my list.
I am surprised. Just because you can't ride it anymore. Remember, this is a nostalgia show.
Yeah, there's
Indeed.
the three previous to this I would rather go on, and my last two definitely.
Okay.
Just got to channel 21-year-old Lee.
I couldn't even really ride roller coasters back then, to be honest. I could tell you a story about going to our local one with my best mate where I nearly spewed on him. I was literally at that breaking point where if I was on that ride 2 seconds longer, he'd have been getting covered.
Put it
Well,
this
if you
way.
didn't have the 18 pints before.
No, there's no alcohol involved.
Yes. You're quite poor with certain types of rides, aren't you?
Anything that goes
So-
up and down around.
So yes, it wasn't that long ago. Was it last trip or the trip before that? Trip before, 2013. Lee got put in a carousel as punishment.
And I quite enjoyed it.
It's because it was a
On
carousel.
the carousel
That's why.
because the kids were on it and I should have been watching them and I wasn't. I was on my
He
phone.
was on his phone. I was furious.
I'm glad you made me go on it because I would never have gone on it otherwise, and I enjoyed it.
And I ignored you and looked at my phone.
That's fine. I didn't
Out
care.
of
I was
spite.
enjoying myself. And it was because of that I ended up going on one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish as well, which I quite enjoyed. But I will not categorically ever go on Stormforce Acceleratron because I will hurl.
You will if you go on with me.
I will if I go on it with anybody.
Well, Lee, would you like to tell us your number 2?
My number 2 has already been mentioned by only one person, I think. and I will agree with what that person said. It is the best 3D attraction ever to sit in any theme park in the world ever, and that's T2 3D. I just think, as far as
that.
a 3D sit down 3D attraction or 4D attractions as they are were rife in the 90s. Even your little local theme parks had them in. I mean, we used to have a SpongeBob one at our local theme park, and it was all right.
I enjoyed that.
But T2 had elements to it that just elevated it above even the best of those bog standard ones. You know, the fact that you had the animatronic T-70s in the side, the fact that you had the actors interacting not only with each other but with the screen as well.
Yeah.
And when you look at it as well, the actual 3D movie you were watching was the original T2 cast, directed by, James Cameron himself. It's like, what more do you want? And that 3D, I've complained a lot on the show that once they changed the 3D over to this 4K stuff, I don't think you get the effect that you used to get. When you go to a 3D attraction at a theme park, you want it to come out at you. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Whereas I find that the 4K 3D now is more about depth. It's more like you're looking through a window into something that's real rather than a screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that 3D in T2 was phenomenal. When it was at its best, it was unreal. It was the perfect 3D attraction. The only thing that comes close is Muppets at Hollywood Studios. That was a similar thing. You had the animatronics. You've got like the Bean Bunny and Sweetums and stuff. And then I suppose to a lesser extent, Tough to Be a Bug over at Animal Kingdom. But it was perfect, and I was incredibly sad when that got closed. Because of the fact that the last time I rode it, I slept through 50% of it. Yeah. Because I was knackered. But it's stunning, and I think it's sad that it's gone, especially when you consider that James Cameron's come back on board to do a new, which is a direct sequel to T2 3D, I do believe, or T2, sorry. So apparently they're trying to eradicate that. Terminator 3 didn't happen, Salvation never happened, whatever the last one was, Genesis never happened, and he's doing a direct sequel to that. So it could have had a bit more longevity, but I'm very sad.
Yeah. At least it did have a good run, though.
It did.
No, it did, yeah.
It certainly did.
Yeah.
But it was one of those attractions that you went into the park and you always expected it to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can imagine now walking into Hollywood that it's just like, it's not there. Because as we've said before, there's nothing else there now.
The empty corner. We'll put hat shop in. The Brown Derby hat shop. That's it.
Yeah. And then Schwab's if it's a busy day.
Yeah.
If it's open.
Is the store still open then? At T2 or not?
I believe so.
Yeah.
They got to sell their DC merch somewhere.
True.
So, Darren, why don't you let us know your number 2?
All right, let's just rip it off like a Band-Aid, because Back to the Future is my number 2.
What?
What?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it was hairs apart, but there is an attraction that I would rather see in the parks again than Back to the Future.
Oh my God, I am genuinely shocked.
Sorry, which parallel dimension are we actually in?
I know Darren normally does this, doesn't he? He goes,
C-137.
oh, it's like this. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, no, not kidding this time.
Wow.
Oh, Darren, I said number 2, not number 1.
Yeah.
I would have put my entire savings on the fact that Back to the Future would have been your number 1.
Yep. But here's the couple of things that kept it out. Were number 1, the queue. Like Chris said, was very limited and pretty miserable. If you had to do the outside portion, which when it first opened, when I actually got to ride it, that's what I had to deal with was the outside queue for a very long time. Yeah. The Simpsons isn't doing it much better as far as that goes. You don't have to be outside as much because there's not usually as much of a wait time, but most of it's still outside anyways in like a metal container basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You get lovely views of that area. That's about it. Like all the quarters people have thrown on the tops of the like little circus tent kind of things
Yeah.
they have up. But yeah, I mean, even when it was Back to the Future, there was not a whole lot of theming there until you got into the like the pre-show area. And even that was just like, like a case of kind of like memorabilia kind of stuff, and and the doc video that played there. The ride itself was jerky and rough. This is also another thing that kept it off the top for me. It was a screen ride, as it were. So I, as much as I love Back to the Future and the ride video itself and everything about it, like the actual attraction itself was, I can admit it was rough, and the area around it wasn't super themed as well. With Back to the Future and going with the Institute of Future Technology, you didn't have a lot to go on. A lot of like stucco buildings.
Darren, did you have a bump on the head during the ad break?
No. So
I cannot wait to hear number one.
It's like hairs apart, but
Wow.
but yeah.
So I'm looking down my list now, going, which one is it?
Yeah, especially when the only other one I thought he would have put there, he had way down his list. I have no idea now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. That's number 2.
Darren, I'd like to thank you for not being obvious, because I have no clue what your number 1 is now. I would have, like I said, I would have staked every penny I own on Back to the Future being your number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you would have backed it up with Ghostbusters, huh? And you would have lost it all.
Interesting.
Well, my number 2 it was very close to my number 1 between which one I wanted to go with, but I ended up picking this one for a reason. But it's been talked about already. Confrontation.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry, go on. No, I was just thinking about Darren's. Go on.
Yeah, Confrontation. I mean, like I said, we talked about a little earlier. It was a really cool ride. I think one of my favorite things about that was the actual queue and the theming. Like, you were in New York City. It was super cool. The ride itself, again, for its time, it was a giant animatronic.
Yeah.
It was very, very well a planned out ride and pushing boundaries of rides at that time. So, and the banana breath was also really cool.
Yes, that was something I forgot to mention, and that's cool. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Never got to ride it. Such a shame.
Well, if you had a time machine.
I think we'd be riding a lot of things if we had a time machine.
Yeah.
Now we are down to the wire, the last one. Our number 1 picks. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Tracy.
Right. So,
Just say it.
my number 1
Blow us away here.
extinct attraction is
Hercules.
Triceratops Encounter.
Sod off.
Oh.
You see what I did there, though? Come on.
Yeah.
Extinct.
Yeah.
Triceratops. Of course, it's Jaws.
Of course.
Nothing else comes close.
At least someone stuck to the stereotypical route I was expecting them to.
Nothing comes close. This is light years ahead of everything else. I will give everything I have to ride this one more time. The movie's been one of my favourite movies for donkey's years. Yeah, it's just... It's like having a little... It is. It's like having a little... It was like having a little vacation in the middle of your vacation, because you got to go on a little boat tour around Amity, and it felt like you were somewhere completely different. Did not feel like you were in a theme park, really, until you got attacked by a shark, of course.
Very true.
The set was absolutely brilliant. The skippers were phenomenal. If you got...
It was like a whole different place.
Yeah. If you got a skipper that was on form that day, you would have an absolute blast.
Actually, I seem to remember the last time we rode it, it was an English guy, and it was last thing at night, and he was phenomenal.
We did go and actually give feedback for him. Yeah.
We actually went and told him as well.
We did. And I think that his manager was there as well, if I remember
we should have done, yeah. He was brilliant.
It was absolutely awesome.
Never got to ride it in the dark, which is something I think Darren
know.
mentioned it earlier. Was it you, Darren, that mentioned about riding it during Horror Nights? Yeah, I would have loved to have done that. The Shark in the Dark was so cool.
Very cool.
It didn't get old. And
which is weird when it's literally
really
the same
is.
thing.
Yeah.
I think it was the Skippers that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made it different.
Which is weird when they had having spoken to Josh when we did our Jaws tribute special, they were very strict on how you did that script, which I think is testament to those skippers even more, that they still made it feel different every ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most memorable rides we had, for some reason, everything was just slightly off. And the skipper played up to it because he'd like shoot his gun, but there'd be a delay before there was an actual splash came out of the water. And he was kind of do things like he'd look at it, he'd look at the gun, he'd look back where the splash was as if to say, that's a bit weird. But it was great because he embraced it and really had fun with it.
Yeah.
But just so many memorable moments, like getting your skin burnt off and
yeah, that flame badge in the middle of that. If you caught that on a hot Florida day,
and the wind was in the wrong
felt
direction,
it felt like the Germans at the end of Indiana Jones.
and then when you're hiding in the boathouse and it's dark, and that really adds to it because it's all just mechanics, but because you're in the dark and all your senses are heightened,
It scares the crap out of you.
it does. There's that ripple of fear. It's ridiculous because there isn't really a shark in that water.
There is. I've seen it. It popped up by the side of the boat.
You can't help. You can now, but you couldn't help but get caught up. And at the end, you're whooping and you're hollering, and
Yeah.
and it's just you come off it pumped.
Going back to Kenneth's review of Fast and Furious last week, that ride had an end.
Yeah,
And you came off that ride pumped to hell.
you did.
Yep.
Yeah, and there was the added bonus of Nathan's hot dogs right next door, and you could sit dockside and still be part of the ride while you're stuffing your face.
Yep.
It had everything. So yeah, R.I.P. Jaws.
R.I.P. Lee, would you like to tell us your number one extinct ride?
Well, seeing as though we've just discussed it a little bit and it hasn't been on my list yet, I think it's pretty obvious that my number one was also Jaws.
Ooh.
It just, for everything Tracy said, I just think when you look at Universal Studios Florida, Jaws is the ride that they used in their promotion, a lot of it. The first thing I ever knew about Universal was, I think it was watching an episode of Different Strokes from way, way back in the day where they went out to Universal Studios Hollywood. And I remember the Jaws bit from that. So Jaws was always one of those connections you made with Universal. And then the first year we went out, it was actually closed and we were gutted. So we rode the hell out of that thing in 2005. And it is Universal Studios Florida for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already said it all. There's not much else you can say, but when you look at a ride that's largely animatronic driven in water, that, sometimes things didn't work, but if you hit it where everything worked, and you've got to remember that those things are resetting and going again every, a minute or 2 minutes or whatever, that thing ran as long as it did.
Yeah.
Is testament to what such a good attraction it was. Everyone knows I'm a massive fan of any ride or attraction that has an actual person as part of it. And as we said, even though that script was they had to adhere to it so strictly that they still managed to make it feel different every time, was brilliant. Just an iconic ride for Universal Studios Florida. I don't see how you can not put it as your number one. I've just alienated Chris and Darren at that point by saying that, but I just
let me rework my list.
It was the day I woke up and saw that they'd announced that they were closing. I thought it was a joke. I couldn't believe it. And I was disappointed that I was never going to get to ride it again.
when you think how much of an impact it has had on us, because we didn't actually ride it that much.
No.
Because was it 2004? It was
Closed.
It was closed for refurb, wasn't it?
2005, we rode it a lot.
Yes, a lot.
And then 2009, we didn't really with the kids. I remember getting on the first time with the kids and knowing the right seat to sit. So I stuck Raymond out on the outside in the middle. So he got every shark and every heat blast. And he's never pushed into me like that on anything else before. I don't know whether he enjoyed it or whether he just hated me for putting him out there or what. But yeah. And then, like Tracey said, one of those things that we did quite a lot was go and get our lunch from Nathan's and sit on a table next to the exit route of Jaws and cheer with every boat that came in. Again, everyone knows I'm a huge fan of any other. I know it's not an attraction, but anywhere in a theme park where you can do one thing but interact with something else, and that was something that you could do it in, even just in a simple way of sitting there eating your lunch and cheering with the boats coming in. And there's nothing in the parks, in any of the parks, I feel now that matches up to Jaws.
Yeah. Do you know what's really sad? Jade doesn't even remember it.
Oh, she won't do. Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I will agree with you on that. Pretty phenomenal ride. Darren.
Right. We need a drum roll on this. I have no clue.
Yeah. So,
breaking news here. Darren, let us know.
Like I said, this was hairs apart with Back to the Future being one of the most memorable things from the first time I went to the park.
I think I know what it is.
And one of the things is that's stuck in my head until then. And my first experience of true 3D in a park as well. And it is Alfred Hitchcock, The Art of Making.
I didn't. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Back to the Future, I love Back to the Future. I think everybody knows that. It's pretty much settled. But I also very much love horror. And the thing that got me interested in horror as a 10-year-old kid going there for the first time was... Well, first of all, my parents had HBO when I was a kid, so I watched a lot of horror movies there.
Good lad.
But seeing this, seeing Alfred Hitchcock, The Art of Making Movies, the attraction, seeing the birds in 3D, seeing Rear Window, Dial M for Murder, they had show clips and bits from there as well, and just insight into how movies were made. In a way that I had never seen before. And this was me going to Universal Studios, a working movie studio at the time, and seeing an attraction that explained a movie and, how it works and the process behind everything. And they did explain everything that they showed you on the stage. And during the 3D movies, they explained how they did everything. And that was something that I think really solidified Universal to me as an authentic, legit place, where they were making movies. And as a kid, I was thinking, okay, I'm in the soundstage. Like, of course, I didn't have a concept at the time, but I'm like, okay, Alfred Hitchcock is here making his movies currently. He'd been dead for a while, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a kid, I had no idea about that. So it was just the coolest thing to me. Mm-hmm. And seeing set pieces, like I said, the miniature from Rear Window, and then they having a movie clip play right there, and you're seeing it. Like, that is the thing from the movie. That kind of got me into the love of actual props and things from movies as well, because that was the first time I'd seen like an authentic, legitimate prop from a movie, and that was just so awesome. And they had the cool photo op where you could hang off the Statue of Liberty, and get your picture taken.
Nice
as well from that film. So there was a lot, and the live action element to it. Like I said, there was comedy in there. The Universal actors that worked it did a great job. That I just think all in all, it was a very amazing attraction that incorporated everything that you could think of attraction wise at the time, with the 3D, the onstage thing, all of that. And it just made a huge mark on me as a kid. And then leaving that and going around and seeing the Norman the house, basically, the Bates Motel and the house afterwards, just like super solidified that, and it was just amazing. So that's why it made number one on my list.
I'm glad it includes it on mine now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to have a night, Tracey, where we sit and watch all these old attractions that we've never ridden.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I thought for a second you were going to go Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah. I mean that's another really really good one too. Let's say honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, because I thought, is it going to go something? Because I know he got voted, like he played the game and stuff like that. Is it going to be that? Come on then, Chris, because we have no idea where you're going with this.
Okay. Well, my number one, like I said, it was close to number two, and I picked it. It's not something I just thought, hey, this would be my number one. But after thinking about the queue and then memories I had, the same way how Darren was, with Hitchcock and just kind of associating certain memories to certain things. This one's been discussed exhaustively already here, but Jaws is my number one as well.
Yes.
So,
Like Chris.
Yeah, I think everybody already said, what it was there. For me, what kind of made the thing that pushed it over the limit was I have a lot of fond memories of riding that pretty much almost every Horror Nights
Right.
that we used to go out there. It was a mixture of doing it at nighttime because it was really cool with the lights and everything. And I to a certain extent, I don't know if it was just me or anybody else at that time who wrote it, but it had a funny aspect to it because I felt like during Horror Nights, they would deviate a little bit from the script. They knew it was a little bit of a different time. So I almost want to associate it to being like Universal's Jungle Cruise.
Okay.
Where, we had some really funny skippers come on and do things, and the ride's close, so I can't get anybody in trouble, but they would just completely go off script and do things. One of the funniest memories I have was, you talked about them shooting the water and then the explosion showing up, a little bit after. Well, this one guy we had took that to the next level and would shoot the opposite side of the boat, and then the explosion would show up, behind him. And he's like, "Oh wait, over here." I mean, and then he knew where everything was at, and then he'd just like get frustrated. He goes, "Guys, this gun isn't working. Let me put this away. I have an idea. On the count of three, I want everybody to scream, and I think with our voices we can kill it." They say 1, 2, 3. We all screamed, and you just see the burnt jaws kind of.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it was little things like that every time I rode it, I almost felt like it was a different ride. And again, associating that to the memories of Horror Nights and how much fun we used to have, and all my, we used to go with a group of friends. That just kind of made the list as the number one attraction that I would want back to do that again, especially during Horror Nights.
Perfect. All that makes me think now is I'm even more sad that I never got to ride it in the dark.
Yeah. Now that he mentions that, I'm remembering a time when they didn't use the grenade launcher at all. They were just using finger guns.
Awesome.
Like pow, pow. There we go.
Yeah, I think they knew which manager was on duty, so they wouldn't check them. So all right, today we can kind of go off script.
Yeah.
And on top of that, most of those poor people were probably working all day too, and then working all night because jaw skippers were pretty elite as far as it goes. You have a whole ton of them to go with.
Oh yeah.
I say go back to episode 21 and listen to our interview with ex-skipper Josh, and it wasn't an easy role either.
No, I can imagine.
No. And it's such a shame that they're getting rid of those type of rides that do have those team members in them. No, that's why I say for everyone slating Fast and Furious, I like the fact that they've included team members at least in the queue, just to give it that sort of old school Universal feel a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely. And now that you guys were mentioning the Jaws queue, man, I just remember that being like, it's such a simple, like basic queue, but it was so awesome.
Yeah.
Like the theming in there is incredible. And then the videos that they played, they had like the sock puppet Jaws that would come up like a kid's show.
Yeah.
And then they would also have like just like alerts come on from the from the Amity area and then it would come up with commercials for the the 4th of July festival that's happening this weekend. And it was a really cool video that they would play in there. But yeah, just the theming in there was just incredible.
So Darren, you're the odd one out. As I said, I don't see how you can. I don't see how you can not have Jaws as your number one.
Because you didn't go in that Hitchcock.
But
number
wasn't...
5. Number 5, Darren. Is that?
It was my number 5.
What the hell?
Hey, it's just a personal thing, man.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I give you props for the fact that
fine. You better love it number 1 right now.
I'm just still in a state of shock that Back to the Future wasn't your number one.
Yeah.
I have to say that until the rug was pulled from under my feet, that was my number 5.
What?
Back to the Future.
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near my list. Sorry, Darren.
It's okay.
We've literally only ridden Back to the Future once.
We've written it twice.
We have not. We have ridden it once. We haven't.
Because both times I looked out to me right one time and to me left the other. Because I hated the fact that's what put me off it.
Once.
Because you could see all the other vehicles.
Oh, but if you had the right angle on the side, it was so cool because you could see just 50 DeLoreans flying there.
Any other honorable mentions?
I haven't
seen on Hercules. The Fantastic Worlds of Hanna-Barbera.
See, that I would have liked
that's
to
on my
have seen.
list, yeah.
I do like
That
Jimmy
was good.
Neutron.
I love Jimmy Neutron.
Nickelodeon.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nickelodeon for sure.
Yeah.
So no one had anything from Islands then? Like I say, was there anything?
Julian Dragons?
I don't think
Oh,
there was. Yeah.
Psycho Circus. That's all.
Skipper Island boat to us.
But there's
Well,
not.
maybe a
there's
couple
not
of years from
lot.
now, we'll have a top 5 from just islands after they start doing stuff over there.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So,
pretty good top 5. I think we surprised each other a little bit.
Definitely.
yeah.
Not a little bit, a lot.
A lot of it.
It's made me rethink everything.
And I thought I knew, Darren. What the hell?
I don't think it's Darren.
Hunters in disguise. He's come back on the show.
Well, I think that's gonna wrap up the show.
Sorry if you depressed people. We are.
No, I think
I think you guys should let us know what your top 5 is.
definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
Write it up on Facebook, Twitter, email, text us, call us, come over, whatever.
Yeah.
Let us know what it is. Top 5.
Just go in the parks and go to the rides that are the ones that have replaced the ones that you want and tell them, this was number 4 on my UUOP list of top extras.
Obviously,
Like,
Jaws is
okay.
number 1. Because we can say that now because Back to the Future wasn't Darren's number 1.
No.
So people don't have to feel that sense of duty.
Thomas will be sat wiping a tear away now, won't he?
Of course he will.
In like happiness.
It's better to have fucking lost than never to have loved at all.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I agree.
So Skipper, take us home.
Well, for Lee, Tracy, Darren, and myself, Chris, see you next time.
Cut, print. That's a wrap for another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review while you're there. Not an Apple user? You can listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or your podcatcher of choice. Email us any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. Keep up with the latest news, rumors, and updates on our blog at uuopodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.